Okay, so um, the last TikTok talked about was like, my last TikTok was like, how like basically getting into like a denial of not denial of society, but just like at some point in our lives we will have to not follow like the status quo, right? And we will have to just turn to each other. Okay. Now, how does that happen? How is that sustainable? Um, Getting into like small communities, like having like finding like a village, like those country towns. Those so like basically like towns in the south. I feel are like farming towns in the south I feel are pretty good. They're pretty safe, because farming already farmers there. Now, I'm not saying to only rely on them. I'm saying to learn like how to like learn how to plant. Okay, because you don't need meat, right? That's a misconception. You don't need meat. All right, there are other ways to get meat and all that stuff. And then plus, like if you learn how to farm, and then you learn how to like you harvest good veggies and all that stuff, or the good fruits, then you will be able to trade with your fellow. Okay, and I know this is like, I don't know what is this? It's like going back in time, but yeah. Sometimes you gotta go backwards, go forward, right? And, like you think like the Dark Ages. I think was it the Dark Ages? Dark Ages? That's crazy. Ages? Was it the Ages? Or like after Rome fell, and then in Europe everybody was like nobody knew shit, and they were like they lost all those, like they didn't have any, like they barely had skills, like their land wasn't that fertile. They had rampant diseases, but they were like throwing their poop out their window and letting these rats run in the streets, right? That's because they didn't have those like logic or like the life skills necessary. Okay, and that's why so many of them passed, right? But you didn't have those issues with people with like the Native Americans who were like that for probably much, much, much longer. We have no, I guess we will never know like the wars that happened in America, or um, things like that. But they were still good. They were still living off the land. They were they were pretty logical, and they were pretty very spiritual, right? Um, so you don't want to be like the medieval Europe peasants, respectfully, right? You want to be like the natives, where they had food. Maybe they had a currency. I don't remember. Um, they have food. Maybe they had a currency or two, or one, or three, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe they just like traded, right? But I guarantee you, throughout that time, they were far happier than those peasants were, even after the whatever revolution they went through, um, right? Like it's like and you can be prone to outside influences after that, because there will probably be like people or that are left over that want to come in and influence, right? And find like, oh yeah, we'll do this, we'll help you with this, like this, that, third, but nah. Um, but it's like I think we'll go back to like villages. Um, it'll be a lot more interpersonal, but there still would be technology, in my belief. Um, I think it'll be like people stop getting like being on the internet so much, and the world will no longer revolve around like the internet and the status quo and like all that stuff and like globalism. I believe it'll go back to like the your community and people. You know. Now, I don't really believe there's gonna be a bad place to be at. If I'm being honest, it's just how you are able. Like, how are you able to? Like, you know, well, I think a bad place to be at is probably Florida and California, because California is a fault line, and the weather is going to be crazy, and Earth is going to start going crazy. And Florida is going to flood. I think a lot of the East Coast, a lot of the Southeast is going to flood, because that's just how like the world works, right? Like, that's not like a conspiracy. Like, if you want like physical evidence, then like you can just look back in time. Like, the Earth has always worked in cycles. Back to like the dinosaurs, the Ice Age, right? So if you're either gonna, so like, yes, spirituality, but you can also tie it to the logical as well, which is why you need balance. Okay. Um, but it's like places I think it's gonna be good. I think like the Midwest. If you're in the U.S., the Midwest U.S., like Texas. Um, I don't know about Alaska. I think Alaska will be chill if you're good with the cold. If you don't know how to do with the cold, but I believe that it's probably gonna get cold as fuck. Being real. Um, so Alaska might, if you're willing, if you're if you live like people in Antarctica, then yeah, Alaska's good. Um, it's basically Antarctica with trees, no polar bears, and um, probably fertile soil. We dig deep enough. Um, um, I think Professor Jiang thinks that China's gonna be not gonna be good in a good spot, but China is a very very fertile land. Like, there's a reason why those different like countries tried to, all different like countries, empires, whatever, tried to invade China. Like, China's gonna be good. Like, China's gonna be very okay. Not to glaze China, but like, the land is very good, and it's not super close to water, nor is it super close to like in like very very hot climates, right? And the land is very fertile, and there are plenty of animals, right? Like, it's gonna be fine. Russia, I think that Russia. Ooh, the Slavic nations might have a bit of a problem, but I believe that they're very enduring. They're very strong, so they will overcome. Um, I think like the Scandinavia, they're fine. Um, Greenland might have some problems, but honestly, they seem like good people. So they're not very their logic doesn't supersede their like intuition or empathy. So it's like, you know. And I know it's a very very generalized thing, but I'm on TikTok, so, and I got 2 minutes. I have a minute and a half left actually. Um, Africa. I think Africa will be okay. The saying "everything grows in Africa" is true. I think that once you get like take away those outside influences of people constantly destabilizing and ravaging Africa, you'll have a very very, they might prosper more than most people, if more than most countries, if we're being, or continents, if we're being honest. Like, Japan. They're gonna have to go through a rough time, but I think they'll overcome. But they have to get out of that really really old mentality. Um, Basically, I think the Asian countries are fine, but they'll have to get over like old thought patterns. They have to rebuke their old thought patterns. um, and then South America's, I think they'll be okay too. Same thing with Central America. Because honestly, it's all just like outside forces that have been ravaging, aka USA, USA, and like the other governments too. They've done like equal sometimes. Anyways, I'm done. Do this.